Welcome to the first episode of Teamforce AI's Frontline Advantage. We are so excited to have you join in today to learn more about our executive team and some of the learnings we've discovered since launching Teamforce AI. Teamforce is an enterprise software as a service company that helps decision makers in large enterprises and mid-market companies communicate and engage with their frontline or deskless workforce every single day. This video podcast series will be about providing insights from the frontline workforce and other leaders in the industry that can be useful for you in your day-to-day work. Today's episode will be from team members at Teamforce AI, our executive team, including Chris Harvey, Jakubczyk, Deependra Tewari, and myself. We thought it would be best to actually introduce some of our newest team members because so often founders are pitching a story about what their startup is doing, but so often people really want to hear the truth, whether it be customer stories or team member stories. And so we thought it would make sense to start with Chris to tell us a little bit about his professional experience, what inspired him to want to get involved with Teamforce AI, and some of the initial learnings he's had. So Chris, take it away.
I actually have a long history in the HR technology industry. I was with UKG for 20 plus years, and the original companies that became UKG, both Kronos and Ultimate Software, and ran a bunch of different organizational aspects of UKG within the marketing and sales organization. Most recently, two things: the business development team, as well as what's called UKG Labs. And UKG Labs is where I actually became aware of Teamforce AI. We were doing a outreach where we were starting a cohort of startups to engage with as part of UKG's Future of Work initiative. And we looked at over 1,000 different HR related startups, and we narrowed it down to 6. And Teamforce AI was one of those 6. And we were super impressed with what they were doing, which was really giving voice to the underserved and almost sort of ignored part of the workforce, which is those frontline and deskless workers. We're really super excited about how it would give a voice to them around employee engagement, as well as many other things. And part of that really gave me an insight of just how big an opportunity it was for Teamforce to make an impact on this underserved part of the marketplace. And I got excited about an opportunity to join as the new head of growth so I can evangelize the deskless workforce and help frontline employees get more recognition and be more involved in how businesses are run. So really, really, really excited about working together.
That's fantastic. And we're excited to have you on board, Chris. Jennifer, what about yourself?
Well, Vivek, thank you. I'm very excited to be part of Teamforce AI. I have over 20 years of HR experience in all different realms. Started out in warehousing, worked in the corporate environment, worked in customer service and sales. So I have a little bit of everything underneath my belt. But really the last 15 years was in distribution, logistics, things along those lines. And that's where I was introduced to at then was Clickit, now Teamforce AI. So I was a consumer of the product before I actually joined the team. And it was rolled out into 15 of our logistics warehouses. And we had the problem of high turnover. And we just couldn't get a pulse of what were our people thinking. We ran the surveys every year. And we were literally forcing our employees to take these tests or these surveys. And we'd say, here's 5 minutes, go in this room, take this survey. And were we really getting the honest opinions from these folks at that time? And in came, Teamforce AI, Clickit at the time, and said, we can give you this information quarterly, daily, monthly, however you want it, and it'll be voluntary. And that is where, our VP of operations said, this is what we want. We don't want to force our people. And the HR team and everybody else came along and said, wow, what a novel thought to, ask our people to take it, let alone to force them. So a couple of things that really excites me about the product, and every time I speak about it with, so I'm a customer liaison, the engagement person that actually helps the HR teams on the other side when we're engaging with customers. I get to tell them how it works, right? So we have people, we get to say to them, you have your customer surveys, your worker surveys, engagement, and, that's one point in time that you're getting that. But we can do this 365 days a year. Or you can do it, 4 times a year, or you can do it, once a month, or those types of things. And it's such a difference because you might not even, when you're doing your annual surveys, you're only getting that person once a year. And we have the ability to do it all the time. And you can also act in real time where you're not waiting for these survey companies to gather the data and give you back 6 months later. Okay, now react to what somebody said 6 months ago. So these are all things that really excited me about it. These are the things that I wish I had when I was practicing in the buildings. And I would say to my HR team, what's going on the dashboard today? What are we hearing? Those types of things. So all kinds of wonderful things that you ask, what excites me. I mean, these were the things. And then the data that comes out of it. What are the analytics? How do we look at one building versus another building? If there's multiple locations, can we use it as a way to, have best practices, maybe have one manager in a building talk to another manager and really help to get the voice of these frontline workforce out there so we can really utilize that to help with attrition, to help with engagement, to help with productivity. And then obviously, what do? We're helping the bottom line and hoping that, we do make the changes that our customers are looking for. So, I could go on, but I don't want to take up the whole podcast here for you guys.
That's fantastic, Jennifer. It's always great when someone who's worked with your product or solution actually decides to come on board. It's the best reference one can provide. And so we're super honored and excited to have you involved. Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about, now that you're on this side of the table, what are some of the things that have surprised you or maybe others might not realize about this market or the product solution, whatever it may be, the landscape, that you think are pretty interesting to share with the audience?
One thing that I think a lot of organizations are coming to realize, and this becomes the tight labor market because of the post-COVID-19 world, they're starting to realize that high turnover is fixable, or because they never really thought about it as a fixable problem before. You often saw that organizations, their frontline workers, they had 50% or more turnover. And they said, oh, that's great because I've got a steady stream of non-college graduate or lower skill or just abundant workforce that I can hire from. So I'm not worried about the turnover. The labor market has changed dramatically. So now when a technician leaves, or even somebody in the warehouse or on this production line, they leave, it is very difficult to find a new person with a similar skill, with a similar background. And they're just struggling with that. So now this idea of engaging their workforce at the front line, finding out more about the morale issues, what's making them happy, how to create more of a community and culture on the front line is becoming a much higher priority for organizations. So I think that's a big change that has been there before. One of the things that surprised me about Teamforce is I always think of it just, originally I thought of it as a employee engagement tool, but it's much more than that because it can do things like help improve the health and safety conditions within a warehouse or distribution center or other frontline organization, because it can ask those sort of poll questions where it tests people's knowledge and actually can also ask them questions of things like, well, is there safety concerns within this facility? And they can capture those feedback where an employee might not feel comfortable going directly to their supervisor to mention it, but when it's anonymous, they will share that information. And then, you're actually helping people be safer by using Teamforce, and you're helping the environment, the management of that facility reduce risk and reduce liability as well. So there's so many advantages. one of the other things I really love about it is that sense of community within the facility itself. I think oftentimes having that daily poll where people can talk about it and like, oh geez, I got that wrong. I can't believe that was the answer. And then people will chit chat about it, and where you can celebrate somebody, recent, maybe adding a baby to the family, or they've been there 10 years. And you really build a great sense of community, which is what people want. They want to feel like they belong in the workplace, where DEI actually comes into place as well. And that's just fantastic, because now they're not going to leave for 50 cents more an hour, because they love where they work and they love the people they work with. So if you could help create that and be a part of making that happen, that's what I think is really amazing and somewhat surprising about what Teamforce can do.
Great. Jennifer, anything you want to share in particular?
I think to Chris's point, the thing that keeps the people coming back to the kiosk is we make it fun. So when you're doing surveys, a lot of times they're 10 to 15, could be 25. They could be a lot of questions. And that was one of the things that a lot of times, you get survey fatigue from the frontline associates and or even your folks sitting behind a desk. What we do is we only ask one, maybe two questions a day. And a lot of times those questions are, who won the big game, or something very relevant to where the facilities are. So, we make it fun for them. So they're already going up there answering questions. So when we put a question up there that we really want to know what the answer is, they're answering it. Well, I'm already up here to see what it is. I'm going to go ahead and answer it for you. And it could be about culture. It could be about the company mission. Maybe it's something about open enrollment. You're thinking about changing benefits. Real important stuff that we can do and incorporate into it. But it could also be fun. Who's your favorite football team, or, what's your, I don't know, your favorite color, things along those lines. It's stupid things that you don't think is important, but when you're working 8 hours, 10 hours a day, that could be something fun to interrupt the day and really then, to Chris's point, talk about it at the lunch. What did you think about the Teamforce AI question today? What did you say it was, or those types of things? But to that point, Vivek, what excites you about Teamforce AI and everything? I mean, you guys are the founders. What brought you to the table? I guess let's hear from you guys.
Yeah, that's great. Dee, do you want to share some of your thoughts, and then I'll chime in as well?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jennifer and Chris. There's a couple of things that excite me as far as Teamforce is concerned. And the first one is like, when you have frontline workforce, a lot of time they're not aware of the bigger picture. They're running around the whole day. They're doing heavy lifting. They might be on the road the whole day. And in that chaos, while they're executing, it's very easy for them to not grasp the bigger picture. And that is what makes the difference when their supervisor says, just do what I'm telling you to do, But a lot of times, saying something verbally without grasping the bigger picture, even though it might be for their benefit, that's a big difference in comparison to knowing the bigger picture, or having a mechanism where you are regularly reminded of the bigger picture, the bigger objectives that'll help you win. And that win will translate into a win at your professional, career. So a mechanism which can help you do this without getting pinned for freely voicing your concerns. That's something which I was very, very excited to work and build. And that's I believe what Teamforce AI is all about. It's providing a mechanism where the higher management, including stakeholders from the C level all the way to mid managers and people on the ground, everyone can connect together completely anonymously and understand and slice and dice at a granularity level that is relevant for each stakeholder. So that's essentially what Teamforce AI is we are trying to build at Teamforce to have the capability right from the lowest worker at the grassroots level all the way up to the C-suite executive, that, hey, one little decision on my end is going to impact all of these workers. So I have to do it in a particular way, or I have to at least give them a chance to voice their concerns. And I have to communicate why we're doing it. How will it impact them? And not all frontline workforce is I would say, feels empowered enough to go ahead and stand up to their supervisors and ask them, why is this happening? This is going to affect me, but to a kiosk, and our kiosks assure you, like, they are completely anonymous. We don't know who is giving the responses. We just know somebody from the workforce is giving this particular response, but we don't know who that is. And that is a big motivator because you can freely voice your concerns, and this will be shown on the dashboard to the relevant stakeholders, and they can take action that you can see the result of back on that kiosk without individually addressing anyone. Think about that. Think about that loop where your actions and their effects are actually visible to the worker down to the very grassroots level. And the contribution of each worker is visible all the way up to the C-suite executive. So I think that is the biggest motivator for me to be, building and contributing to the tech part of Teamforce.
Yeah. To build on what Deependra, you're saying, the name of this podcast is Frontline Advantage, Harnessing Employee Insights for Business Success. And the idea of capturing feedback at different levels in the organization, especially at the frontline level, is something that as many decision makers rise in an organization, they tend to be farther removed from what's happening at the ground level. And so they rely on others to actually be able to provide color and transparency on what's happening. But sometimes that information gets distorted. And so it's difficult to actually know, as you talk about, Dee, what's happening on the grassroots level. I remember in 2018, when we first stumbled upon this idea, we were doing some customer discovery as part of ClickIt, thinking about opportunities where we could expand. And we met with somebody at a Fortune 100 who said his number one pain or problem was hiring package handlers. He hired 150,000 of them a year, and that entire population turned over each year. And so he said, if you could figure out a way to help me reduce this turnover, you would not only be solving a problem for me, you would be solving it for others. And he was absolutely right. And so that led us on this journey of developing this kiosk-based system, where, as Jennifer talked about, you can go up and answer 1 or 2 questions a day about anything on your mind. That information is sent into a dashboard where you can take action to actually lead to better working environments, lower turnover, increased productivity, and more. And I think what excites us, not only from our learnings during that time and having endured what occurred during COVID, which was so challenging for ClickIt, and then now launching in October of 2022 as Teamforce AI, is that a great business is ultimately about serving its customers. And what we've been able to do is not only help customers listen to their employees to be able to act and make informed decisions and investments based on what their workforce is looking for, but also listening to our customers has allowed us to actually see that despite the economic climate and turmoil we might be in right now, many of our customers, in fact, all of our current customers, are renewing or expanding in this environment, hugely motivating for an early stage startup. Moreover, the pipeline of customers we have and the quality and the names, the logos, is so strong for a newly launched company that it motivates us to realize there's actually something really exciting here. And so we say this because this is just the beginning. It's episode 1. You're meeting our executive team today, but you're going to be seeing a lot more of us over the coming weeks, months, and years. So stay tuned as we introduce our next episode, each one on a weekly basis, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.